Hello there, ladies and gents. Welcome to one more video. In today's video, we're going to talk about how children of narcissists avoid reality in a number of ways and how this actually prevents them from seeing reality as it is. And because they don't see it, they keep thinking that reality is a source of pain. And it's really unfortunate because then they will just perpetuate all of the same mechanisms they've been using to avoid reality, and it's just this horrible cycle that they can't break free from. Now, before we get into that, I'd like to tell everyone that I'm looking for people who identify with my work and who are ready to go into an in-depth dive into this inner work, healing from childhood narcissistic wounds. I have a Brazilian program that I developed for children of narcissists to teach them practical tools to get in touch with their inner self. How do you actually do this whole strengthening and living from your inner self thing, right? So there are actual tools for that. If you want to be part of this program, then you can find more information on the Inner Mastery Lab in the description. There's a link there. And you can also send me an email at info@tarianarocha.com.br. Okie dokie. So, reality. Now, the first thing that children of narcissists do in order to kind of avoid reality, it makes them be able to deal with reality. It's the fact that they even form a false self to begin with. So remember, children, they create a false self because they don't feel safe in their family environment, and they learn how to alter their personalities by putting on a mask that they believe will not trigger their parents. And that's how they'll have some peace, because they're always walking on eggshells in their family environment, and they have just these very unstable emotional reactions from mom or from dad. So they actually create this persona to where entire parts of their own personality remain hidden and tucked away so as not to infuriate mom or dad, right? So that's the first thing that happens, that disconnects children of narcissists from reality, because it disconnects them from their own reality, their own emotions, their own perception of things. Many of these people don't know what they feel. They don't know the names of what they feel, if it's anger, if it's sadness, if it's isolation, if it's loneliness. Also, they don't really know what's true and what isn't because of the gaslighting that went on over the span of so many years that taught them that they can't trust their own perception of things. And then there's another thing, which is we are programmed to see life and people as unsafe, and we're programmed to see ourselves as inadequate, unfit, and insufficient. As a result, we are always looking for ways to avoid pain. For example, we will distort reality, we'll minimize certain things, we'll deny certain things, we'll rationalize, we'll ignore entire portions of our life that we know we really should be tending to and that we should be focusing some of our attention. We rationalize behaviors that we know are toxic, that are keeping us stagnant or are actually exposing us to real risk, right? We deny our portion of responsibility over our unhappiness, and we minimize the impact of all of this reality distortion on our happiness. It's impossible to see reality itself as an enemy and to be happy, whilst you're alive and having to deal with reality. We also constantly alleviate pain in unhealthy ways. We do things we don't even like for approval, you know. We're at jobs or in relationships, or basically investing in hobbies that we're over, that don't represent us anymore or fully, because people think it's great and we're like, oh great, other people think it's great, so we keep doing these things. And it's a type of narcissistic supply that feeds our sense of self, our sense of false self. And so long as we're sipping on that narcissistic supply, we will not free up time in our lives and stop doing certain things and use that time that we have freed up to actually like invest in things that are aligned with our soul, right? And with your mission, if you believe in that sort of thing, or with the sort of work that you would love to do on planet Earth. We keep going back to abusive relationships for the attention or for the opportunity to save someone when you're talking about codependence, right? Or for the opportunity to feel, I don't know, horniness, because so many people get so horny when they're getting involved with narcissists and with psychopaths. You have that weird association where love is linked to pain, and you keep going back to this thing that brings you pleasure, but it brings you so much pain. We spend our time drifting mentally so as to avoid creating the necessary changes. How do we do this? Substances. We'll use the substances, and they will give us pleasure, but they won't give us satisfaction. Because pleasure is fleeting, satisfaction builds a sense of meaning. Because satisfaction is obtained through facing obstacles and reaching victory through toil, through work, through focus. That's where satisfaction comes from. So that's why substances will never give you satisfaction. They'll give you pleasure, but they will also give you an inner void, if that's all you do. We spend our time drifting as well by engaging in repetitive thinking that generates familiar emotions. This is a great moment to mention that emotional states are highly addictive. So, some people use marijuana or some stronger substances, maybe prescription substances or non-prescription drugs, illegal drugs. But basically, if you get yourself into certain emotional states, such as feeling lonely, victimized, depressed, abandoned, neglected, or infuriated, you're actually creating a change in the DNA of your cells, so that they become basically like junkie cells, and they want to feel that same emotion all the time. So repetitive thinking that generates familiar emotions are a way of drifting and being disconnected from reality, because you're off in pain land, reliving all of that pain, those echoes. We drift by watching Netflix. We use sex, we use work, we use exercise, we use just random activities that we fill our days with to avoid being alone with our thoughts and being alone with ourselves and being in our own company and dealing with reality. Another way that we don't want to be present is we try to hurry things along, because we have thoughts like, damn it, I've already studied this whole narcissism thing. Why aren't I healed? Why haven't I, gotten over the depression or the anxiety or the low self-esteem or the procrastination? And it's because it's a lifelong process. But we insist on trying to make life bend to our will and make things okay, and make the pain go away, so that we can just feel that we're perfect, and we're not imperfect and insufficient like we felt our whole lives. But part of the process is sitting with that feeling of being insufficient and questioning it, and learning how to give yourself loving energy, even when you have these voices telling you that you're insufficient, and learning how to question those voices and not letting them have basically the last word. You have to say something else to yourself in your own mind, and not just be accepting whatever it is that the voices in your head are telling you. So all of these are ways of avoiding being present and not being in reality. So what does being present mean? It means to actually bear to look at what's going on. And that's a little bit of what I was talking about a few seconds back, which is like, can you deal with the shame of your behavior? Sometimes we do things that make us feel shame, and we have to sit with that shame and figure it out. Can you deal with the guilt? There's, the false guilt, that toxic guilt that stems from you having been taught by your narcissistic parent that it's wrong to look after yourself. And so we normally feel guilt when we're learning how to love ourselves, which is a really weird, distorted guilt that was planted into our minds, right? It was implanted. Can you bear to sit with your vulnerabilities, with your the need of other people, the need for connection, the need for so many different things. That's what being present in reality means. Accepting to yourself, accepting that you have needs, vulnerabilities, guilt, the shame. It also means changing things that need to change now. So oftentimes, because of perfectionism, so many children of narcissists don't take steps because they're terrified of taking the wrong step. And there's really no such thing as taking the wrong step when you kind of consider all of life a journey in healing, and when you think that it's a lifestyle and you're going to live that way for the rest of your life. Basically, all things can and will be used for your healing. There's no such thing as taking a wrong step. So you take no steps and then you're like stagnant. And I love what Marie Forleo says about clarity. She says, clarity comes from engagement. And sometimes you just have to start taking steps to shake things up so you can start, creating some movement. And from that, you can start generating different results. That's what being present and accepting reality means. Accepting reality also means accepting that certain things are beyond your control, and accepting that, if you're going to worry about a problem that you don't control, if you can just abandon those repetitive thoughts and convince yourself that the problem is going to be there, whether you're thinking repetitively about it or not, to learn how to abandon repetitive, compulsive thinking, because it's basically going crazy over things you don't even control. That's accepting reality, okay? And it means also accepting that healing is a way of life, that there is no such thing as, at some point you're going to be okay and everything's going to be fine, and then you won't be the daughter of a narcissist. Obviously, you're not supposed to obsess over this for the rest of your life. At some point, you won't even think about your mom because your life will be full of beautiful things. But, healing, when it's not seen as a static future situation that's going to make everything okay, and rather as a way of life, it's something that is sustainable. That viewpoint, I believe, is sustainable. So what I want to ask you is, number one, how do you escape from reality? What are the ways that you identified with that I listed here or that I haven't listed? And number two, and this is a great question, how do you connect to reality? What have you found that actually helps you be in the present moment and deal with your emotions and deal with the actual things in your life that require new attitudes and new actions? Okie dokie. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. And don't forget, if you want more information on the Inner Mastery Lab, I would like to form a small group of English-speaking clients. There is more information in the link in the description. If you like the video, then please share it. It might be useful to someone else. Like it, subscribe to the channel. There's going to be lots of videos in English as well. And let me know how you escape from reality and how you connect to reality in the comments below. Bye-bye. See you next time.